It is truly great to be back in the wonderful, beautiful state of Pennsylvania. Get ready for the great, great battles to come. We're going to have jobs, and you're seeing them already. We will renegotiate NAFTA. We are proposing major tax relief. Well, what about Obamacare's dead? It's gone. Democrats in Congress have no leadership. Senator Schumer is a bad leader. He's leading the Democrats to doom.
Was mean-spirited.
Taking the fight to the sanctuary cities. Oh, don't worry, we're going to have the wall. Don't worry about it. We are going to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Hollywood actors and Washington media are consoling each other in a hotel ballroom.
Welcome to the series finale of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. No one wanted this gig. No one. Donald Trump doesn't care about free speech.
We are not fake news.
Everybody's using the word fake news. Where did you hear it first, folks? The media deserves a very, very big, fat, failing grave. We are Americans, and the future belongs to us.
The techno hour of Fox and Friends weekend.
I just can't get enough. Good Sunday morning, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful spring. It's almost May. Can you believe it's
May 1st tomorrow?
Is it tomorrow? There's no 31 days in April?
It's beautiful weather on the East Coast that, as we've been reporting across the country, they're still experiencing snow,
Beautiful
tornadoes,
allergies.
heavy rain.
Beautiful
and allergies across the country. I know we're all suffering. But Clayton, how's your eye this morning?
Oh, it's fantastic. Please send me your home remedies for having like an eye that feels like it's
Can
like
we
a
do a
watermelon.
close-up on his eye? Is that possible?
You want to gross out America? Let's get it.
Here's looking at you, America. My creepy Dr. Siegel in the green. He's like, what happened to you? I'm like, allergies. It's a mess outside
Dealing with
right
America's
now.
dealing with. It's
We
true.
feel for you. But there was a lot that was going on last night.
Yeah, that's true. And we have a big hour, so stick around. Chris Wallace, Kellyanne Conway, a lot coming up in the show. But yeah, as you said, Abby, last night, dueling events, as you described it. You've got the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the Swamp celebrating itself, and a bunch of reporters patting themselves on the back. And then in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, President Trump celebrated the 100 days of accomplishment he's had. But during that, and it was an interesting speech. It went on for about 45 minutes. It was clearly the anti-White House Correspondents' Dinner. In my mind, and I watched the whole thing live, he's the same guy. Candidate Trump is President Trump. He's promises made, promises kept was the theme of the event. He's trying to say, hey, you elected me to do something. I'm going to Washington to do it.
Right. He went after the Democrats. He took on Chuck Schumer, saying he's a terrible leader. He said, I've known Chuck Schumer for a long time, and Chuck Schumer has to read books on leadership. He said anybody that has to read a book on leadership is not a good leader. He had on-the-job training. He also went on and talked about his accomplishments over the 100 days and the things that he can assure the public that will happen. He said, don't worry, you're going to get your wall. And there was a number of other things.
That I promised. Yeah, and we've been to a number of these rallies in person, and it's really the same message of I ran for president to fight for you, the American people.
Yes.
That is still my motivation. That's what I fight for every single day. But really started the event out, the rally, going after the media.
Very
as
much
many
so.
thought that he would. Here's how he did it.
Let's rate the media's 100 days. Should we do that? Should we do it? Media outlets like CNN and MSNBC are fake news. Fake news. If the media's job is to be honest and tell the truth, then I think we would all agree the media deserves a very, very big, fat, failing grade. A large group of Hollywood actors and Washington media, they are gathered together for the White House Correspondents' Dinner without the president. And I could not possibly be more thrilled than to be more than 100 miles away from Washington Swamp, spending my evening with all of you.
That was one of my favorite. Without the president.
Would you rather be there or in Washington
Right.
having to sit through some bad jokes at the White House Correspondents'
Totally
Dinner?
opposite events. I mean, there you have the two screens. On the left there, President Trump's rally, and on the right, the Washington, D.C., the Hilton. It's been going on, for years and years, since, I think, the early 1920s, where, as you were saying, Pete, the press really just gives themselves a round of applause, a standing ovation for how wonderful they are.
You can tell they were really crying last night. Hurt and wounded by being
Emotional.
picked on by the the president, being called fake news. He was there attacking them on the left side of your screen. And Jeff Mason, the president of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, got up last night to defend the press.
Forcefully, yes.
Listen.
At previous dinners, we have rightly talked about the threats to press freedoms abroad. Tonight, we must recognize that there are threats to press freedoms here in the United States. We must remain vigilant. The world is watching. Press access under President Trump has been very good. Nevertheless, we cannot ignore the rhetoric that has been employed by the president about who we are and what we do. Freedom of the press is a building block of our democracy. Undermining that by seeking to delegitimize journalists is dangerous to a healthy republic. It is our job to report on facts and to hold leaders accountable. That is who we are. We are not fake news. We are not failing news organizations. And we are not the enemy of the American people.
I hope you caught it. It was really quick. He says right in the middle of that, press access under President Trump has been very good. He went on and said they've had more press conferences, they've been more accessible, but our feelings are hurt because he calls us names.
Well, then, as evidence of this last night, President Trump speaking out in Harrisburg, immediately after the coverage of President Trump's speech there in Harrisburg, CNN had a panel on to kind of analyze and react to the rally.
As they often do.
Take a listen.
Yeah.
He needs this affirmation from his base because he's a moral midget and he is a deeply insecure person.
I am so sad for America tonight, listening to this speech.
This was the most divisive speech I've ever heard from a sitting American president.
I mean, there are people probably who watch this who were hoping that he would call us to something higher. And he took us right into that swamp. But I feel like I want to take a shower.
Now, those are, in fairness, those are some Democrats there. That was
there were like 9 of them.
How many people are on that panel?
2 conservatives. Yeah, it's not even a panel. That's like a focus group. But it's a focus group of CNN, a focus group of what Trump has called very fake news. I watched that live. It was unbelievable, how condescending the tone was.
Well, former Clinton advisors, Democrats.
They don't understand President Trump still, 100 days later.
Moral midget, he called him.
But that's exactly what President Trump is talking about. He's saying, look, I'm all for free media, right? The White House Correspondents' Dinner is a perfect example of that. Have your dinner. Do what you want to do. But let's have some fair coverage, right? Let's point out the good. Let's also point out the bad. And I think as we've seen from the American people, if the media really want to do their job right, listen to what the American people are saying. If you look at any poll, if you actually go out to middle of America and talk to real Americans, hear them out. Because they will tell you, you have not been fair. You have not covered both sides of every story.
Absolutely. You know who hasn't been talking to people in middle of America? David Gergen, the captain of conventional wisdom, who says, because I've worked for 4 presidents, I know everything. And that's the most divisive speech I've ever heard. Because he's probably never met a President Trump supporter. And that's the problem, is he sees himself as the guardian, and they see themselves as the guardian of truth. Yet they've never met a Trump supporter or don't want to listen to them, nor understand what motivates them. And frankly, they don't respect them. And that's what drips. I'm sad because I don't respect these sad people who love America.
That's what Dan Bongino was talking about earlier on our show. If you missed it this morning, a former Secret Service agent, he was saying that, let's listen to this. The media elite in Washington get together, pat themselves on the back, eat frog raw, sit together, never probably going out to the middle of America, actually seeing these, seeing Trump supporters, seeing Trump voters, and sit there and then print your stories from your high castle in New York City.
Yeah, he said, you know what, for a lot of these journalists, the middle of America is just flyover country. They don't spend any time there. You know, I got to tell you, though, when we are out there and you do talk to voters, the disconnect between those conversations and the ones that I have with many of my media friends here in New York. I mean, it's like we are living in 2 completely different worlds, and that was evident last night when you saw those 2 events taking place. And that I think that's actually a dangerous place to be.
Well, it's where we are. But this is why the president calls CNN not just fake news, but very fake news, because it is not a representative. It's sold as middle America. I have to walk through the airport and watch CNN. as if I'm getting the middle of the road. When I know they pretend to be the middle of the road, but everyone they book is center left, and as Steve Bannon says, the opposition party. These guys hate President Trump, and it drips from everything they say, yet they pretend like, just be who you are, be honest.
Well, we've been
then
talking...
it's not fake news.
Well, if you also caught, they all gave themselves a round of applause.
Right.
I think they gave themselves a standing ovation. Look at this. A big round of applause for themselves.
I was just going to say,
you did a great job on that segment. I'm thinking about just standing up.
Should we give ourselves one?
Nazaga.
Yeah, forget it.
No, you're not going to.
A pat on the back?
Oh, okay, we were standing. Because we thought that A block was just amazing.
We've been talking, though, about the past 100 days for President Trump. What about the past 100 days for the media? I mean, is that really deserving of a standing ovation and a big round of applause?
Well, if you watch that CNN panel, they have learned zippy.
Let us know your thoughts on this. Friends at FoxNews.com. Email us this morning. We'd love to. Our producers would love to read through your emails this morning.
They do love reading.
Does the media deserve a round of applause? We want to know what you
we'll
think.
read some of your emails a little bit later in the show.
All right, I do have some serious headlines I want to bring you this morning, starting with some extreme weather and an alert. At least 5 people are now dead in Texas after a tornado almost half a mile wide tore through and created a 40-mile patch of destruction. Just look at the damage at this car dealership, which is almost unrecognizable. Cars flipped over and completely destroyed. Well, the National Weather Service confirming 3 tornadoes touched down outside of Dallas. And meanwhile, torrential rains triggering dangerous flooding. 2 people killed in Arkansas and Missouri. And in Indiana, a house exploding, as you can see there, into flames after lightning strikes. Everyone did make it out safely. And a U.S. naval firepower arriving in the Sea of Japan. The USS Carl Vinson participating in military drills alongside South Korean forces. President Trump sending a strong warning to North Korea after the latest failed missile launch. Take a listen.
This was a small missile. This was not a big missile. This was not a nuclear test, which he was expected to do 3 days ago. We'll see what happens.
You say not happy. What does that mean?
I would not be happy. If he does a nuclear test, I will not be happy.
The White House National Security Chief telling South Korea the U.S. will pay for a new missile defense system to protect from North Korea aggression. Well, this after President Trump saying just days ago that South Korea should flip the bill. And check this out. A huge alligator interrupts a man's golf game when it got onto a fairway in the Champions Gate golf course near Orlando. The golfer who captured this video says that he was just about to chip his golf ball when he saw the giant 10-foot gator, grabbed his phone instead, because that's what we do today when we see something crazy.
Remember a couple of weeks ago we had the alligator in studio and you were reading headlines?
Oh, yeah.
Just walking over there, I thought it was staring at you down.
Saw that.
What?
What would you do if you
huge.
saw that?
Not move.
Yeah.
Aren't alligators a lot faster than you think?
I think they are. You're supposed to zigzag if you're running away from them.
Little known fact, they're as fast as a cheetah.
Really?
No.
One of the fastest land mammals, right? Am I right?
So maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't go up close with your phone.
A studio full of zoo experts here. We'll see about that.
No, I'm full of it. All right, coming up here on the show, tensions on the rise with North Korea and new comments from the president saying he will not rule out military force. So what would a war with the rogue nation even look like? Retired 4-star general and former vice chief of staff of the U.S. Army, General Jack Keane, will break it down for us.
And more than 60 Democrats boycotted the president's inauguration. But Elizabeth Warren, she was not one of them. She was there, and she just revealed why. You're going to want to hear this one. Welcome back. We've got a Fox News alert. The USS Carl Vinson arriving in the Sea of Japan after North Korea carried out yet another failed missile launch. So what actually could a potential war with North Korea on the Korean Peninsula look like? Well, retired 4-star General Jack Keane is a Fox News military analyst and former Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, and he joins us now with more on this. General, no one wants war on the Korean Peninsula, but I know our military, our Army are prepared for it. There are plans in place for it. First of all, what would trigger, in your mind, let's say diplomacy does not work, what could potentially trigger war on that peninsula?
Well, it would take some action on the part of the North Koreans, frankly. We're not going to do anything unless they provoke us. And what would actually provoke us is a nuclear ballistic missile in launch preparation. And the only reason they would be firing that missile, it would be firing it towards our allies, our bases in the Pacific, or it was an intercontinental missile towards the United States itself. No president would ever permit something like that to take place. So what we would have to do is obviously we would take out those launch facilities. But because North Korea would then start raining rockets and artillery on South Korea and also start moving troops across the border, because that would be war. We just cannot limit our target portfolio just to the launch facilities. We would have to take down their underground nuclear capabilities so that those weapons would not be used against us, we would have to take out as much of the rockets and artillery that are tucked up against the border, some of which are in tunnels, and they bring them out on rail cars to fire them and take those down. And then, frankly, we would go to Pyongyang and take as much of the leadership regime targets that we could. So it's not just a matter of shooting down a missile that's about to be fired. War would come as a result of that act that we took, and we have to minimize the damage to Seoul, Korea, and to our forces in the South as much as possible.
Boy, as you look at all the signals right now, nuclear tests, they're testing different sorts of ballistic missiles. There's a worry that they could have an intercontinental ballistic missile, be on their way there, which is, as you said, if it's nuclear tipped, that becomes the problem. What are the chances of our intelligence agencies identifying this type of threat?
Well, it's challenging, to be sure. Look, they have successfully tested a submarine-launched ballistic missile. And obviously submarines are challenging to try to detect them. Now, their submarines are not as quiet as ours, so I'm certain that we've got capabilities to follow those around when they move out of North Korea. But they're also developing mobile launch capability. That makes it much more challenging for us to find it. I mean, we know where all the launch facilities are for their missiles right now. Obviously, because we have overhead systems. But a mobile capability is something they can move to a spot and do very quickly. That becomes much more challenging for us.
General, I know the Pentagon has plans in place on that peninsula because we've been there for so long with conventional troops. If, unfortunately, that were to happen, we had to take a preemptive strike and also take out missile sites, you might have the North Korean army invade. We don't have as many troops as they do, obviously. What happens with China? Does their calculus, do they come in support or do they stay on the sidelines?
I think we could just speculate about that. The Chinese, if they thought the regime was going to fall and there's nothing they could do about it, they would not do that. They would probably try to broker some kind of ceasefire and some kind of negotiation to preserve the regime. I think was the most likely thing that they would do.
Wow. General Jack Keane, it's this kind of information that, makes this such a high stakes spot in the world right now. General Jack Keane, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Good talking to you.
Thank you. All right, coming up, does President Trump need Democrats to pass health care and tax reform? Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace joins us with his thoughts on that and the president's first 100 days ahead. Plus, are you hungry for work? Well, Cheryl Casoni is live in the plaza with some of the employers looking to fill nearly 15 million jobs in the restaurant industry. She's working hard. I will be out there to have some of that food.
All right, here we go. There we go. All right, y'all enjoy.
And welcome back. 24 minutes now past the hour. Moments ago, SpaceX calling off its first national security mission for the U.S. military. The Falcon 9 rocket was set to deliver a top-secret satellite into orbit for the intelligence community. SpaceX scrubbed the launch due to a sensor issue. They will try again tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern. And out with the old, in with the new, the Trump administration getting rid of several climate change pages on the EPA website with a red message showing they are no longer active. A spokesperson says the changes were made to reflect the current views of President Trump.
Are you hungry for work? Well, the restaurant industry is projecting to employ 14.7 million people this year. That is about 1 in 10 working Americans.
Fox Business Network's Cheryl Casoni is out on our plaza this morning with our top restaurants that are hiring right now. Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, good morning, guys. With the success of places like Chipotle, all of these companies are looking to really become the next Chipotle, if you will, that fast casual industry. Now, do you like chicken salad? Ask yourself, especially for breakfast. I want to bring in Stacy Brown. She is the CEO of Chicken Salad Chick, and you base this company on, I want to say, a lot of your friends.
Absolutely. All of our chicken salads are named after special chicks that have influenced my life, which is actually what the concept is about, which is about lifting people up, spreading joy, enriching lives, and serving others. And we're serving 12 different fabulous flavors of chicken salad.
You've got about 1,000 jobs that you're going to be looking to add this year to the company right across the country.
Absolutely. With 21 new locations opening up, we will add over 1,000 jobs.
Okay, so tell me about the different names of the chicken salad, because here we've got some samples right here I want to show our viewers.
Okay, yes. We have Lauren's Lemon Basil. We have our homemade pimento cheese. We have Cranberry Kelly. We have Sassy Scotty. We have Fresh Egg Salad.
I can vouch for this one.
Fancy Nancy.
Jump right in, Pete Hexat.
Yes.
All right.
So Sassy Scotty, Jalapeno Holly, all different flavor profiles from sweet and salty, savory to spicy, anything you can imagine. imagine, we have it in the best chicken salad you've
If
ever had.
anybody's in the New York area and Midtown Manhattan right now, coming up, there's a lot of chicken salad, actually. We also have, I'm so excited, fondue. Oh my gosh, the melting pot. I love this concept. This is Bob Johnson, of course.
Correct.
You head up the company. Tell me about the melting pot. We all love fondue.
Absolutely.
Maybe too much so, right?
Well, the Melting Pot is a 40-year-old brand. It's a fun, interactive, entertaining experience where the meal is prepared with you and by you right at your table.
Okay, and so it's more like a service-based restaurant versus kind of jumping in and just grabbing something and walking out the door.
It's a full-service experience.
So 35 states, you're looking to hire about 2,700 people this year,
Yeah,
correct?
throughout the year,
And you
correct.
need, let's see, franchisees, general managers, servers.
Yeah, everything
everybody.
from, I started as a dishwasher and ended up running the company, but we're also recruiting franchisees, servers, managers, you name it.
All right, and Chef Jason over here, what are you making, sir?
This is our classic Alpine.
Okay.
This is a blend of raclette, Gruyere, and our classic Swiss cheese, and little white wine, some fresh garlic, some lemon, some fresh nutmeg.
All right, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes once the segment is over to have that. Okay, so smoothies. Everybody loves a little breakfast smoothie, right? I want to bring in, this is Mike Rotondo, the CEO of Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that all your employees need to have a little tropical attitude when they come to work,
yes,
right?
you got to have some Tropitude. It's a healthy, better-for-you brand. We got 600 locations. We're going to open 100 more locations this year, so create over 2,000 jobs in all of our restaurants
That's
nationwide.
great. You know, there's such a health craze going on in the country right now. Do you feel like that's really what's helping the brand really expand, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. People are looking for better-for-you food, like Island Green, spinach, kale, pineapple, mango, and banana.
You guys aren't working. I just want to point that out right now. I mean, if you're going to be, you know, let's try to make some smoothies, because I think Abby and the rest of the crew is going to want to come out here and have a little help.
Absolutely, we got smoothies for everybody.
Again, you're in Midtown Manhattan, you want a smoothie, a little breakfast, come on down. All right, let's move over to our last group, and this is, okay, the Italian girl wants to have a little Fazoli's in her life, right? All right, I am a quarter Italian, so tell me about Fazoli's, especially the breadsticks, right? This is Dave Craig, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Fazoli's, we're based in Lexington, Kentucky. We are the nation's largest fast casual Italian restaurant chain. We have 220 units in 24 states. We offer a wide variety of contemporary and classic Italian dishes. The big news for us right now is we're a little more than a month away from offering an artificial ingredient-free menu.
Oh, so you're going to go all natural.
We
That's
are.
a big trend in the United States. 4,000 jobs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and breadsticks.
And
the
breadsticks.
unlimited breadsticks. Can we just point out the unlimited breadstick
All of our
option?
entrees come with unlimited hot
Those
garlic
breadsticks, Pete. Yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. Jump right in. All right. There you go, guys. So there you have it. There's job. This is again one of the hottest growing industries. Whether you're a college kid, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, or you want to start your own business, food. All different kinds, guys. Come on out and get involved.
Who doesn't want that? Cheryl,
Abby
that's so
said,
great.
I want some breadsticks.
Can you bring in some
Breadsticks?
breadsticks? Those look so, I don't know why, those sound so
They
good
look-
right now.
They look good.
All
I think Pete's eating them all.
And I didn't know Cheryl was a fourth Italian.
I didn't either.
Yeah, learn something new every day.
Well, coming up here on the show, President Trump coming down on Democrat Chuck Schumer at last night's rally in Pennsylvania.
Senator Schumer's a bad leader, not a natural leader at all. He works hard to study leadership. When you have to study leadership, you got problems.
Chris Wallace has an exclusive interview with Chuck Schumer this morning and is going to join us with a preview of it.
We'll have to ask him about that. And more than 60 Democrats boycotted the president's inauguration, and Elizabeth Warren reveals why she was not one of them.
I went to Trump's inauguration. I watched. I wanted to see it. I wanted it burned into my eyes.
Unfortunately, Democrats in Congress have no leadership. They're rudderless. Senator Schumer is a bad leader. I've known him a long time. Senator Schumer's a bad leader, not a natural leader at all. He works hard to study leadership. When you have to study leadership, you got problems. And his policies are hurting innocent Americans and making it easier for drug dealers to enter our country. Schumer is weak on crime and wants to raise your taxes through the roof. He's leading the Democrats to doom.
Wow, that was last night. President Trump coming down hard on Democrat Chuck Schumer after the Senate Majority Leader is unable to name the party's leader who can take on Trump.
Here to react, Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace. So, Chris, you heard him. He went double barrels on Chuck Schumer last night. What do you make of that? Is that a strategic approach, or is that just 100 days in, I'm sick of this?
Well, no, I was going to put Schumer down as a definite maybe for the president. I didn't think it was so clear. Look, I don't quite understand it. I'm not saying that Schumer doesn't deserve criticism because of the fact that he's obviously been a tremendous obstructionist on every single effort by this president, and especially on the nomination of Neil Gorsuch, who was clearly inside the judicial mainstream. But I'm not sure I understand what it accomplished. Care repeal and replace. He's almost certainly going to need it on tax reform, infrastructure. So I'm not sure quite where that gets you to just go tooth and claw after the Senate's Democratic leader.
It's a good point. You've got Chuck Schumer on the show this morning, so it's going to be interesting to get his take on this attack line, because they've been friends for many years. I mean, this is what strikes me as odd. Then he's attacking his leadership, that, he has to read books on leadership, and anyone who has to do that can't be a strong leader. I mean, that's got to sting. I mean, if he's a former friend, I don't know why you do it.
Well, look, Chuck Schumer's been saying nasty things about Donald Trump. He was asked this week, what's your grade for the first 100 days? And he said a straight F. So it's not like Schumer hasn't said plenty to Trump. I just don't understand. In the end, the president is going to need Schumer, or at least some Democratic support. So I'm not quite sure, other than the fact that it made him feel good to go after Schumer.
Maybe it's like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford pretending to not like each other.
That is a great show if you're not watching it. Feud on FX.
But
a great one.
Chris, he talked about Lyin' Ted for a year, for a month, and then turn around to work with him, too. So you could change.
No, that's
also.
right. Look, people's memory in politics is pretty short. And if they find something they agree on, they'll work together. I mean, I don't think they were ever best buddies. I think it was just kind of a transactional relationship. Trump was a New York real estate man, and Schumer was a New York senator, so they needed each other. It is a little curious, and as you say, at the top of the 9 o'clock, we're going to be talking to Chuck Schumer. We'll have an exclusive interview with him, and you can guess that I'm probably going to play some of what Mr. Trump had to say for Mr. Schumer and see how he reacts.
Well, I'll be watching that closely. So we've been talking about the past 100 days, grading President Trump. I'd love your thoughts, though. The White House Correspondents' Dinner was last night. How do you grade the mainstream media and how they have covered President Trump so far?
Well, I'm going to give you two answers on this. I think that the president's demonization of the press is inappropriate, and especially calling them an enemy of the American people. That's just wrong. And people have a lot more credentials than I do, like Bill McRaven, who was the head of U.S. Special Command, said that he thinks that's anti-democratic to talk about the media as the enemy of the American people. Having said that, there's no question, I think a lot of our colleagues in the mainstream media have been unfair to this president and inaccurate to this president, and have kind of decided that he's over the line and that therefore they can drop their standards of professionalism and objectivity. No matter how you feel about a president, we got to do our job as professionals. And I don't have a problem with a president. Lord knows, Barack Obama didn't like Fox News, and he called us out. But I think sometimes this president goes too far when he talks about the media as the enemy of the American people.
Well, Chris,
we're not.
You've also got H.R. McMaster on your show this morning. What are you going to be talking with him about?
Well, yes, he's the National Security Advisor. We'll have an exclusive interview with him. And obviously, the top issue is North Korea. The president this week famously saying that we could end up in a major, major conflict with North Korea. And just hours later, North Korea conducts another ballistic missile test. Right. And it raises the question at a time when the White House, the vice president, the secretary of state are saying the era of strategic patience is over, when North Korea thumbs their nose, basically defies us, and goes ahead and conducts missile tests. Do we now have to do something?
Yeah. Well, a couple of great guests, and we'll be watching.
Really important questions
Chuck
to ask.
Schumer and H.R. McMaster. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Check your local listings, 9 a.m. Eastern. Thanks so much, Chris.
All right, I do want to bring some other headlines, starting with another black eye for the airline industry. Delta Airlines now defending a pilot after video surfaces allegedly showing him slapping a female passenger at an Atlanta airport.
Lock it off!
Well, that pilot pilot apparently trying to break up a fight between two passengers in the jetway. Delta suspending him after last week's incident, but now he's back to work after investigators found, quote, his actions de-escalated an altercation. Well, this comes within weeks of a man being dragged off a United Airlines flight and an American Airlines flight attendant getting into an altercation with a passenger. Just won't end with these airlines. And Elizabeth Warren finally breaking her silence about her brave choice to attend President Trump's inauguration.
I went to Trump's inauguration. I watched. I wanted to see it. I wanted it burned into my eyes. My view on this was if there was ever going to be a moment where I was like, oh, I'm too tired to get up. All I had to do is close my eyes and think, oh, God, I'm up. I'm up. I'm up. I'm ready. I'm back in the fight.
Well, Warren, who President Trump calls Pocahontas, has been rumored to run for president in 2020, but so far is denying that.
Yeah,
we'll see. President Trump has proclaimed tomorrow as Loyalty Day, calling on Americans to hold ceremonies to show their dedication to the United States. But while his critics pounce on him, it turns out this is not a new holiday. Loyalty Day has been recognized by every president since Eisenhower. It was first observed in 1921 in response to the first Red Scare.
Interesting. I didn't know much about that, Loyalty Day.
Interesting that he gets criticized, though, and every other president has done the exact same thing.
Well, because he emphasizes it's just like enforcing laws on the books. It's like it's there. Let's just do it.
We want to get outside now to Adam Klotz, who is ready to show off his dunking skills.
Ooh, let's see it.
Well, I mean, the real dunking skills have been happening back behind me, but they've been teaching me some things. Yeah, they are incredible. I'm going to try it at the other side of this forecast, so there's a reason to stick around through this forecast. Actually, a lot going on really across the country. We're talking about major heavy rain in the center of the country. This has been dropping at times 7-10 inches, continues as of right now. At this point, really today, we're highlighting an area right along the Mississippi River, so that's an area we're going to continue to be tracking, continue to be paying very close attention to. And it's right along that line that we've been seeing some tornadic activity through the overnight hours, some severe thunderstorms, and we'll possibly see some more flooding before the day's over. Now, time for me to show you a high pressure system. That's right. Because I'm going all the way up. That's what I was saying
Bring it,
there.
Adam, bring it.
I mean, high pressure system.
High pressure system because I'm going all the way
I'm
up.
actually worried for
I
him.
want to see this. No, don't be worried. He's a pro. Yes! Look at that.
Well done.
Adam,
well
how did your pants hold up on that one?
I've tore them. I tore them 5 minutes ago. I wasn't going to talk about that, but okay. I just did. Now everyone knows. Tore my pants.
Now, you do that in a mascot outfit, and you're a real pro.
Yeah. I know. Give me a contract.
More of this later. Look at these guys. They are
These guys are crazy.
Yeah, these guys are awesome.
All right, thank you, Adam.
All right, coming up here on the show, an anti-Trump comedian hosted last night's White House Correspondents' Dinner, and here's how it went.
The leader of our country is not here. And that's because he lives in Moscow. It is a very long flight.
One of the reporters who was in the room where it happens, joins us next.
Plus, we'll also get reaction to that from Michelle Malkin. She'll have a few words to say, I would think. Joining us live in just a bit.
But first, if you're looking for a summer camp that'll be a slam dunk with your kids, don't go anywhere. We have got a summer camp fair on the plaza. What don't we have on the plaza
I know.
today?
Summer camps,
Do it, Adam.
basketball hoops, food.
Woo!
Yes. Hey, if you can do it twice, you're official.
Hats off to the Trump administration. Over 500,000 Make America Great Again hats to have been sold on President Trump's official website. Those infamous red caps making many appearances on the campaign trail, worn by supporters and the president himself. And Chris Christie loves the White House meatloaf, but also has a sweet tooth. What is this? The former presidential candidate spotted at a Cinnabon at a rest stop in Delaware, chatting with travelers as he waits in line. I'm really glad that I read that this morning.
You nailed that headline. Yep, big news.
Wonderful.
White House meatloaf.
All right. Well, journalists celebrating themselves, giving themselves a round of applause last night, taking aim at the absent president and giving themselves a lot of praise.
Well, Sarah Westwood is the White House correspondent for the Washington Examiner, and she was in the room where it happened. Sarah, good to see you this morning.
Hey, Sarah. Good morning.
So, were you one of the people standing up, giving yourself a round of applause at one point?
No, you know, I think that we all stood up and clapped for the free speech toast, but we did not all stand up for some of the roasting of the president.
There was also a standing ovation, it appeared, after he said, "We are not fake news." I know and there was a big push, "We are not fake news, we are not failing news." What was the mood in the room there? Was it, us against the world?
That did seem to be the sentiment in some corners of the room. But look, I think that a lot of that criticism demonstrated a lack of self-awareness on the part of the press, because President Trump didn't cause the trust issues with the media. He identified them. And so to implicitly or directly attack the president for infringing on free speech rights when he and his White House have actually made efforts to be more accessible directly to journalists is kind of missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah, well, there were some uncomfortable moments when you play back the jokes that just didn't land. I mean, many personal jokes aimed at President Trump, but also many members of his administration. You could see Darrell Iss's face at one moment, just totally stone cold, like, why am I even here? This is terrible. What was the mood like in the room? Was it ever uncomfortable?
There were moments when it was uncomfortable. You know, there were attacks on conservative media. There were attacks on members of Trump's administration that included references to Nazis, that included references to racial slurs, that I think went a little bit over the line, and some members of the media recognized that. And look, part of this is President Trump's own fault. He's not blameless here. If President Trump had been there, he would have given the traditional response to that speech, which probably would have been more tame if he had been in the room, but his absence allowed him to just be a target.
One of the things that Jeff Mason mentioned was that this White House has been actually more open, allowing White House and access to the president. How, in your experience, how has this White House been with access to the president and other members of his staff?
This White House has been more accessible. They've brought in journalists not just more frequently, but also a more diverse range of journalists. They've brought in reporters from smaller conservative outlets like The Examiner. They've allowed reporters to have access directly to cabinet members and high-ranking administration officials on a regular basis. And that's not something that we saw with the Obama administration. That doesn't get the recognition from the press that his tweets about the media does, and that's why I think the dinner was maybe a little off in that regard.
Well, that's right. So if they're celebrating the First Amendment and free speech, and they're saying they get more access than ever than the Obama administration, then what are they ultimately complaining about? It's just that their feelings are hurt?
Well, I think there's this recognition that the public doesn't trust the media at large, and some reporters and journalists blame President Trump for that. They think that because he regularly criticizes the media, calls us fake news, that it's President Trump's fault. But that's not necessarily the case. Right. That mistrust existed long before President Trump started attacking the media, and so it's missing the root cause of why people don't trust the media.
You said it so well. He exposed it as opposed to causing it.
Sometimes you have to look straight in the mirror. Yeah. Sarah Westwood, good to have you here. We know you had a late night. Appreciate you being on so early.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on the show, Michelle Malkin, David Bossie, Kellyanne Conway, and Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Are we even going to have enough airtime for all of them?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
And breaking breakfast news, your morning cup of coffee does more than getting you running. It's basically keeping you alive. And Dr. Mark Siegel, he's got that proof.
With Vito.
That is next with our own Vito.
Yeah, Vito.
That is a shot for you this morning.
He's keeping Vito alive.
No. All right, clear.
Welcome back. Well, are you having your morning coffee right now? Well, keep drinking up. Turns out studies show that Cup of Joe could do more than help to keep you awake. It could help keep you alive.
Oh, this is just like beer helping you feel better in the morning. It's great news. Here to explain, Dr. Mark Siegel of the Fox News Medical Aid Team. Doctor, bring us the good news.
Great to see you. First, though, he just handed this to me and said, this is a real prostate.
I want to tell you, this is modern technology here. You know what this is? They 3D printed this prostate, meaning that an MRI image of a real man's prostate, a 3D printer, computer, Clayton, made this exact size, exact dimensions, showed the prostate cancer exactly where it was. So when the surgeon operated, he knew exactly where to go. This is state of the art.
It's fabulous.
Same size as yours.
Not something I want to see at 8 a.m. in the morning.
So, all right, the reason you brought a prostate in for show and tell today is because the health of your prostate tied directly to drinking coffee.
That's revolutionary news that's come out of Italy. They studied 7,000 men over 4 years, and they found that those that drank more than 3 cups of coffee a day, which is most Italian men. By the way, when I was in Italy, I found out you can have cappuccino in the morning, but at night you have to have espresso. They don't want you having milk. There's all these rules.
Oh.
So Italians drink this really high-powered coffee, and their risk of prostate cancer went down by half.
53%.
Wow.
So that's no joke. That's not small.
And then they took the cells, and they found out a lot of this was due to caffeine. So some of it was coffee probably, but a lot of it was caffeine.
So what are the health benefits from drinking coffee?
Other ones.
Well, so I don't like certain risks. I want to warn people here. You know, it can make you more anxious. It can interfere with sleep. It can bother your stomach. But there's a ton of great health benefits as well. It decreases your risk of heart disease, it looks like, decreases your risk of diabetes, of liver cancer, of Parkinson's, of Alzheimer's, 20% decreased risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
I will drink to that. But is there a ceiling? Is it get excessive? Too much coffee?
Like how many cups should you
Like
have
I've
a
had
day?
7 today. Is that too much?
I can't tell. I can't tell.
You know,
How much do you usually drink in a day?
No, I like literally like 5, 6, 7 cups.
Yeah.
So it looks like the health benefits.
I'm totally fine.
It looks like the health benefits are at around. Is he fine?
I'm totally
Not
fine.
really.
Never is.
About three cups of good Italian, strong Italian coffee. About 3 cups a day is where you get the health benefits.
If you go to Italy, they have little sips, little cups, and you come to America and it's just jumbo.
It's like
cups
everything
of
in
coffee.
America.
I
Our
know.
cars, our coffee, our beers.
And more caffeine. So some of the benefit is caffeine, some of the downside. 3 cups of coffee a day. Most Americans are drinking 2 right now. I'm not going to tell everyone out there to increase it if it makes you more stressed.
There we go.
We have Michelle Malkin next on the show. Doc, thanks so much.
Great to see you.
Great news.